Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Institute. And this is a new thriller from writer-director Hamza Zaman, and it focuses on a couple who have lost their child, and they're afraid that they're never going to be able to have children again, and there's a lot of tension in this relationship between Daniel and Marie, and they're kind of at different places in processing this. Daniel won't let it go. Daniel also keeps, and this becomes a thing in the film where it's just like, he's very egocentric and not exactly the most likable guy, and he keeps forcing this issue and saying, don't give up, I found this place, let's go. And it's an experimental place, and of course, when he gets there, he doesn't like what's going on. There's this doctor who's watching them with cameras and trying these experiments on them, and he gets roped into having to do all of this with them. And, you know, as this goes on, what's the real intentions of this doctor and this program? And that's the crux of the film that you have in front of you. And, you know, it has an interesting premise, and it sets things up in an intriguing way. And then in the third act, it completely jumps the shark, and where this film really reveals where it's going, I feel like goes too far. Like, this could have worked in the way that it was working, except then it's just like, oh, let's sprinkle in some other elements here, get this a little bit science fiction-y, and then you're just like, oh, this isn't working for me anymore. And that's the unfortunate thing, because they do set up a nice emotional bedrock to this film, because you do have this trauma, and you feel especially for Marie, because she's processing losing her child. And, you know, Daniel's kind of being a jerk about it, trying to make it all about himself. It's just like, you know, he has the awkward dialogue of just like, well, you know, I'm hurting in this situation too. And it's just like, guy, you're being an ass right now, and you need to let your wife process this very personal loss as she had a child die inside her. It's kind of like, duh. But, you know, it's playing up that idea, and he uses that as a way to pressure her into doing this and stuff like that. You know, you have Zaman, who offers up some solid direction. There are times, especially towards the end of the film, where it gets a little bit silly, and, like, the cinematography looks like this might have been some kind of, like, Canadian television show for young kids at some points, where it's like, it's really that cheap. But, you know, there's some solid tension and suspense up until where it gets to the end of the film, where it just goes off the rails. And, you know, as I mentioned, Ignacyo Matynia is who plays Daniel, who's not the most likable, and he's also a little stiff in terms of his acting. He's not the most engrossing of leads, but you do have, luckily, Victorya Brandart, who plays Marie, who does have an emotional core and really anchors the film. We care about her. We care about her struggle. And unfortunately, though, one of the other big characters in the film, the doctor who's doing all this, is really stiff and awkward. And, like, anytime he's on screen, it's just, like, awkwardness and just this stiffness in the performance specifically. And, you know, this had elements and kind of reminded me of that Alana Glazer film that came out last year with Pierce Brosnan. Like, with that, Pierce Brosnan's, like, so creepy and charming and really makes that work in his role in the film. That doesn't happen. Just, like, really awkward performance. But, you know, you have a lot of promise in this film, and then it takes I appreciate the bold decision of narratively where this film's going to go, but it just lost me. And at that point, couldn't get over the stiff performances, the awkward dialogue, and the, you know, still really low budget production value. Because at that point, you're just like, well, now I'm not invested in the story anymore, and this isn't something that I really connected with. But, you know, if you are a fan of thrillers and you could get past some crazy twists, and maybe you just enjoy crazy twists no matter what the heck they are, this might be up your alley. But for me, this one lost me. But those are my thoughts on The Institute. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.